Welcome everyone to this week's video. Today we are on Fish Friday number 275 and we have a good one for you today. Today's fish is one of the lesser known fish of the United States, but actually has a lot of importance. Today's fish that we're going to be talking about is, bam, the Mooneye. Now the Mooneye, or scientific name Hiodon turgisus, again that's Hiodon turgisus, is part of the family Hyodontidae, which is the family of mooneyes. Now there are only two species found in this family, the mooneye and the goldeye, and as you can imagine they are very, very similar. But the mooneye is native to Central and Eastern North America, ranging from up in the Hudson Bay through the Great Lakes, all down the Mississippi and Missouri River basins. It is actually quite common in the Midwest, Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Iowa, and it's actually fairly common in southern Canada as well. So not a species necessarily in trouble, but we'll discuss that a little bit more in a second. In terms of habitat, mooneyes really favor clear, maybe a little bit of turbidity in rivers and large lake. They really thrive in waters with slow to moderate currents, with sandy or gravel substrates. They really like having deep pools for daytime refuge. And usually they're found along the surface, especially during dawn and dusk, but during midday, that's when they're really going to be going down to deeper waters. Very, very neat fish and can get quite large. Adults usually measuring around 10 to 14 inches, which is around oh my goodness, 10 to 14 inches is going to be around 30-ish centimeters, with larger individuals getting up to about 18-19 inches, which is I believe around my goodness, 45-50 centimeters. Sorry, for some reason I didn't put the centimeters in my notes this time. But yeah, usually around a foot and a half long. They can get fairly large. They're actually fairly hefty. They are very dorsolaterally compressed, very much like a herring or a shad. That is one of the fish that they're going to be most commonly confused with, is actually the gizzard shad. Very silvery and metallic, very shiny along the lateral sides, very deeply forked tail, as you can see here. Very, very neat. And they're distinguished really by this extremely large eye that's actually very reflective. Sorry, I'm still getting over this sickness. But they do actually have a reflective sheen on their eye. They do have a very strong keel along their belly, which a keel, remember, is be like a thin ridge. But something you may not, or a lot of people don't realize, is even though this is looks kind of like a herring or a minnow, they actually do have quite sharp teeth. Surprisingly predatory looking for a fish that looks so much like a shad. And you can't see the teeth here because they're actually more internal than on the outward jaws. So they almost have like those pharyngeal jaws, like moray eels and stuff, where the teeth are actually set farther back. Very, very unique, very, very interesting fish. And they're very fast and agile predators, actually. Very, very quick. Very much usually feeding around sunrise and sunset. That would be, crepuscular activity. More often than not, they are hunting along the surface of the water, taking insects, fish, drifting invertebrates along the top of the water. Really predatory, but focused in that surface water hunting. They are known to jump when they're startled, or when they are on hook and line, which is it's well known among anglers that they do this. And keep in mind, they are actually it's a niche audience, but there are a few anglers out there that will go out there specifically targeting Mooneye or Goldeye for multitude of reasons, but apparently they are quite fun to catch on a rod and reel. They do school. They are known to be a schooling fish. Juveniles will school very tightly together, whereas adults will form like loose aggregations. So they're like in proximity to each other, but they're not doing the traditional sort of fish schooling that you would traditionally see. Here's another picture showing how that very metallic sheen is. Now, like I said, they are closely related to the Goldeye, and a lot of people might see this and be like, wow, this is much more gold, maybe this is a Goldeye. So how do you tell the difference between a Goldeye and a Mooneye? And the eyes are actually very different. A Goldeye, in fact, let me show you. A Goldeye is going to be much more yellow and gold. And a Goldeye is actually much more, going to be much thicker bodied as well. It's not going to have as much of a keel on it. But the best and really only way to tell them apart, in my opinion, is actually where the dorsal fin sits in comparison to the anal fin. So for a Mooneye, that dorsal fin will sit in front of or just slightly above the anal fin. And when I'm talking about these origins of the fins, I'm talking about essentially where the fin starts. So this dorsal fin sits here, and it's in front of the anal fin. You can see it real here. It's very close. It's something you actually do have to practice on. But when you look at the Goldeye, you can see that it actually sits well behind. So that immediately makes this a Goldeye. So yeah, very neat fish. Now, obviously, like I said, both of them are they're true carnivores with those powerful jaws and sharp teeth. So both of them are going to sort of act in the same manner. Now, in terms of reproduction, they do spawn sometime in late spring, early summer, usually when water temperatures reach around 15 to 20 degrees Celsius, which is around 68 degrees Fahrenheit. They are broadcast spawners, spawning in flowing river channels. I think that it's not just a water temperature, it's also a recent flood event, in my opinion. They do not exhibit any parental care. The fertilized eggs are just fully pelagic. They're drifting freely and they're carried downstream. And the juveniles will, hatch and then move into nursery zones. So those like backwater flows before they go out to the main river flow. But for the interesting fact we're going to end the video on is that Mooneyes and Goldeyes actually belong to the Odontidae, as we discussed in the earlier video. But what I haven't talked about is this is one of the most evolutionarily distinct freshwater fish families in North America. Their ancestors actually appear in the fossil record over 50 million years ago, meaning they're actually one of the oldest lineages of fish on the continent. And what I mean by that is, you talk about, sharks, the coelacanth, things like this, fish that are ancient and, really haven't changed. And this fish actually trumps a lot of them. Not the coelacanth, of course, but it's a very distinct lineage. So, meaning these fish are very well established, and I'm trying to think of how to properly put this. So, a way to put this is, this fish really hasn't evolved in over 50 million years. It's been distinct and separated from all the rest of the fish for that amount of time. So, evolutionary ecology is was actually what my graduate thesis was on. And that's really unique to me, that they have established themselves so well that they've essentially remained unchanged for that long. It's a really, really unique thing, especially considering how relatively common they are. Now, this fish is starting to become a little more in the public's eyes in terms of threatened or endangered status. Isolated populations of these fish have gone extirpated, meaning they've gone locally extinct. And that's because they're very dependent on water continuity. And as anyone who follows the fish world know, dams are unfortunately a huge problem for fish species. So these fish having a lot of dammed up rivers and stuff has actually hurt these species quite a bit, and it has caused some local populations to be extirpated. So it is one of those fish that I imagine in the coming years, unless something is done, there's going to be some talk about this fish potentially going to the threatened or endangered status. It might be many, many years from now, but one kind of to keep a close eye on. But thank you guys so much again. I really appreciate it. Hope to see you again. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you do, I'd really appreciate it. Hope to see you again. If you'd like to support the channel, please click the link down below. It is by no means expected, but very much appreciated regardless. Take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, and peace.